that we were together. And I remember I ended up on a note that we have power and we have hope and we have authority. We are not like them that perish. It's upon us not to call upon any power to come and give us the victory, because it has been given to us. It's upon us to take the appropriate step to use the authority given to us. Blessed be the name of the Lord. To use the authority given to us and to have the victory we are supposed to have. So I have entitled my topic today, Our Mandate. Our Mandate. You can tell it yourself there at home. Now, I looked at the definition of mandate from the dictionary, and I saw a number of them, but I picked on one. They were all close together, but I picked on one that really applies to us. Now, it is the authority to do something. It adds given to the people by the voters, but this time around, we are not talking about voters. We know that we are chosen, we are appointed, we are set apart by God himself, for himself and for his use. So we have been given the authority to do things by him who has chosen us and has appointed us. We operate here on earth, mandated by the government of heaven. Our operation here on earth is mandated by the government of heaven. I want us to see the kind of mandating that God gives. We see it first in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, from the very beginning. Genesis, chapter 2. When the animals were made, none of them got any mandate. But when it came to man, the Bible tells us in verse 19, Genesis 2 and 19, and out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. Whatever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. God created, and God brought to Adam, and Adam named them. He left it totally on him to give them names as he desired. Left them totally on him. And God displayed to us who believe in him his nature of mandating when he gave Adam such a power. Now, we do not even find that God went through the list of names, asking him, what did you call this animal? What did you call this fish? What did you call this bird? No. He never went through that to tell him, no, this one you can change, or this one you can totally omit it and look for another name. No, he never did that because he had given him total mandate. It was upon him. The Bible tells us that whatever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. The mandate was such that Adam's decision and word was final, and that is the nature of God's mandate on us. I want you to know that God values your word. He values your action. If you act according to his will, somebody said that if you can desire what God desires for the same reason that he desires it, then he's on your side and it will be done. So if we understand that the mandate given to us is that we can speak representing the kingdom, then surely we shall speak and it will be done. Now, imagine God coming back to Adam after he had mandated him to name the animals, and then Adam asks him, oh, I'm so grateful that you have showed up. Now, what should I call this long-necked, tall-legged beast of the field? Imagine the giraffe was standing there, and Adam says, this one, I think this one, God himself will deal with it. So he tells him, what do I call this one? Yes, you have found that to be funny. But I want to tell you, even this present time, many of us behave like that in his presence. We wonder why he does not answer. There's a preacher who is now going to be the Lord. He's called Lester Sumrall. Many times when he spoke about his communication with God, he said that God doesn't respond to foolish questions. There are certain things we can try to tell him, certain things you try to ask him, he will not answer. If he already has given you mandate, call it what you want. And whatever you call it shall be. And then you ask him, what do I call this other one? I don't think he will give an answer. No, sometimes we think we are humble and we think we are sanctimonious in his presence. But he stares at us and wonders whether we understand our mandate. I want us to come to the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 14. I want us to find Moses there. He has just delivered the children of Israel from Egypt in a powerful hand. And all the signs that God showed, he used Moses and Aaron. He used them. There was a rod he had found him with when he was out there shepherding sheep. And by that rod, he did so many things. By that rod, he showed wonders. By that rod, everything that happened in Egypt happened. And he still had the same rod. And now he has come with the people from Egypt. They are free. But their freedom is like short-lived, because Pharaoh and his men, they changed their mind and they said, no, we should not have let them go, and they followed. So we join them from verse 5. It says, Exodus chapter 14, verse 5. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt, and captained over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with a high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them, encamping by the sea besides Pihahiroth before Baal-zephon. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their hands, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord, and they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us, to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in this wilderness. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you this day. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more. For the Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. Now, I have deliberately started from that point where they are seeing the Egyptians. There are verses above that which we are going to look at. But I deliberately started from there that we may see what happened. Pharaoh and his men, they are in hot pursuit after the Israelites, who thought they were free. And suddenly they find that they're not free. These people are on foot. These people have their young ones with them. These people have their all kinds of animals and birds with them. Everything from Egypt, a lot of load, everything they carried, they have it. So there's no way they can flee and be safe. Even if some knew how to run, a majority would be left behind. If the men ran, their wives and children would be left behind. If the children tried to run, they would have left their parents behind. And each child could outrun a chariot from Egypt? None. So there was totally no hope against the pursuers who were right behind them. So the sense of an onslaught is what fell upon them. They just felt, we are finished. And instead of even worrying about escaping or worrying about anything else. They were just now worried about the type of funeral they will have. They said, now we are going to be buried here in the wilderness. We are going to die in the wilderness. No funeral, no good funeral, nothing like that. At such a time like this, when everybody everywhere is scared about corona. When you think of corona, you just think of a funeral. Even though in reality you'll discover that not many have even died out of it. Yes, many have been affected, many have suffered, I agree, but not even very many have died out of it. The number that have been affected, if you compare with the number that have died, you cannot see that it's dead. But because this enemy is so great, the first thing that people think about is death. Now, I was listening to one of the survivors who was talking, and he was saying that immediately he was diagnosed to have corona. The next thing he thought of was death. He just thought of his death. But he lived to be healed. And at the time he was talking, he was even giving his blood to be used for sample testing to find out if a vaccination could be made. But he says himself that the first thing I thought of was death. The first thing these people thought of was not escape. The first thing they thought of was not even God. They just thought about death because they knew the fierceness of Pharaoh and his chariots. They could not see how they would escape from it. Now we see Moses encouraging them not to fear, but to I want you to mark that, just stand still and wait for the salvation of the Lord. He told them to stand still. They were supposed to be going to Canaan, but there's a Red Sea in front of them. There are hills on every side of them. There are soldiers behind, and it says now, stand still. Now he said the Lord was going to fight for them as they were quiet. They would be quiet and the Lord would fight for them. Now, you'd ask yourself, what right had Moses to give such an assurance that the people are not going to perish? The answer is this. The approach of the Egyptians to them was not something that was new to him. He knew it was coming. Because if you go back now to the verses we left, from verse 1 to verse 4, it says, and the Lord God spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Pihahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-zephon, before it shall ye encamp by the sea. Verse 3, for Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land. The wilderness has shut them in. Verse 4, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them, and I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon his hosts, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. So Moses knew that they were going to come there, and Moses knew that Pharaoh was going to come, and Moses knew that God would be glorified in it. Now, if God was going to receive honor in it, that actually means that God was going to give them victory. It means that God was going to win for them, and he knew that. That's why he said, just be quiet, just stand still, and God will fight for you. His instruction of leaving God to deal with everything, that is where the problem could have been. He left it all on God, for God to deal with it. He says,